Welcome back, everyone. I hope that was enough time to do what was needed. I'd just like to thank our sponsors again. So some of you may have seen the ads that we're running through. So thank you to Sea Talk, to Ubermarket, Danfoss, Quail and Rich. And thank you to all of you for coming back to us for the next session. And I'd just like to check, how's everyone feeling in the Thunderdome? Do you feel like you're on Anton Deck's Saturday night takeaway? Because that's what it looks like from us. It's really great to see you all there. And I think we have the poll results that are coming through as well. So we're able to share those with you. Wow, yes. The influence there of our first speakers, I think. How do you feel about those, James?
Yeah, well, I think obviously it's great that people are positive, and I say it's difficult not to feel positive after listening to Anthony and Harsh. But I think that what I'm picking up a lot actually is a lot of that mix. You know, people are probably see opportunity. They see some, you know, they're excited about coming out of this period of time. They also recognise things have changed. They recognise that their colleagues may be feeling a bit more anxious, maybe feeling a bit wrung out. So I can sort of identify with that a bit of both. But look, overall, really fantastic, positive response, which we'd hoped for. Absolutely.
And this next session is about retain. So it really is, what can we retain from the past year? Customers, business, what we learned about ourselves. You know, so what really is crucial. And to start this off, we're just going to go to the word thing again. So this is the single word that actually encapsulates what you're looking to retain into the future. So now let's just have a look. Have we got the results of that word cloud?
I think we'll pick those up later on. We've had the presentations, Debbie, and let people come through with those. So one word about what you're going to retain from your experiences over the past year. Do share that with us, and we'll pick that up later and look at the results. And yeah, thanks, Debbie. I'm going to chair this session on retain. And you know, it's been the question I've been asked most over the past year. Which of the changes that have happened over the past year are going to be retained? Which, in terms of customers, in terms of basket spend, in terms of what we've learned, what's going to stay? And last year we did a lot of work with some outside organisation, Britain Thinks, Oxford University, the Food Foundation, just looking at what consumers were saying and what were the big trends in the market, what might be retained from this period of time and what might go back to how things were before. And obviously we don't have a simple answer to that. But we do have a really good range of inputs now to help us to address that question. So we'll hear from Linda Carrington and Sophie Towers about stories from their stores in Lincolnshire and Lancashire. But first, we're going to be hearing from someone who's been helping thousands of retailers over this period of time, and we'll be helping those retailers to come out of this period of time and helping them to retain everything that they've learned over this period. So please welcome the MD of SPAR UK, Louise Hoste.
Thank you, James. So thank you for having me here. Today I was going to talk through how do we retain what we've gained. But to begin with, I'm going to focus on how we regrouped ourselves, how we've all reinvented ourselves, and then I'll go on to how do we retain what we've gained. So as I've just said, our world's all changed. And right at the beginning of the pandemic, I think one of the things we all did was we regrouped, we focused on feeding the nation. And this was a scene from a year and a week ago on London Bridge. So this was the very start of the pandemic. It then moved into very rapidly empty shelves and people panic buying for food. It moved to us living behind perspex screens and wearing masks, wearing gloves. And suddenly we got this word called social distancing. This is a picture of Bristol Park with people having picnics socially distanced. And people became highly inventive, and people learned how to homeschool, learned how to keep their children occupied during the day. And at the same time, we all became very creative in terms of how do we work remotely and how do we work socially distanced. And then we actually started to clap for carers and clap for key workers, and we suddenly all became key workers. I think one of the pieces for SPAR was actually being part of an international organisation meant that actually we could really rely on each other. We could learn from what was happening across Europe and really quickly put that into practice. But it also meant for SPAR, an awful lot of other retailers, actually we started to really share best practices because it was all new for all of us. And then I think the other piece for me, when I think about how did we regroup, all the industry bodies for the food industry really came together. They really supported each other right the way through, from whether that was from distribution, from manufacturing, right the way into retailing. Actually, we all started to have to learn together because actually the playbook had totally changed. And one of the big focuses we then had was, how do we keep ourselves safe? How do we keep our staff safe? And how do we keep our customers safe? And this was our never-changing piece of activity as the pandemic grew. But I think one of the things that we all very quickly focused in on is, how do we work collectively? How do we work with our suppliers and our retailers to ensure that actually we had fully stocked stores, which I think across the whole of the convenience industry, we did really, really well. I think one of the pieces that we've all realised during the pandemic is we have reinvented ourselves. We've created things that we never knew were possible before, and we've created those at pace. And I think that's one of the pieces that for the nation as a whole, it's made us realise that actually there is the art of the possible there. From a SPAR point of view, one of our big changes was our basket size grew. And that's meant that we're now servicing a weekly basket. We're less of a top-up shop and more of a weekly need. And so over the summer, we launched over 100 SPAR branded products. Our retailers, and many of you out there, will also have created completely new categories. And so here just are some pictures of plants or picnic boxes. But it gave people the opportunity, knowing that they'd got to serve their local community, of really understanding what were the needs of that community and then how could they service it. I think one of the pieces over the whole of the pandemic is trying to bring some rhythm to people's lives when they've been in lockdown and been very much more family focused. So we've improved our store value by giving an annual selling plan. And you can see here how it just punctuates right the way through the year in terms of celebrating that point in time for the customer. And we've reinvented value. We all know that there is huge unemployment now and growing. And so for us, value is really important. So through the course of the pandemic, we've been recreating how do we really sell what our value credentials are. And we've responded by bringing in complete and utter new innovation to the convenience sector. So historically, the home delivery was very much a sector of the multiples. And now it's a very much part of the convenience market, and particularly that sort of really quick on-demand delivery. We partnered with the RVS, and particularly across all these different charities, really worked to make sure that we could support the vulnerable and do things differently for that group of charities. And I think probably one of the most important pieces that's come through the pandemic is being a local neighbour. And for SPAR, that's been really important. And I think for the majority of convenience stores, is the fact that we are in the neighbourhoods, we are local, but we're able to really support and be a friend to people coming in to shop. And you can see here just some of the activity that's been done across the estate for the pandemic. And I think one of the other pieces is actually just connecting with that local community, best practice sharing across the industry, and making sure that we are together and trying to fight the pandemic. We ran a campaign that was about championing our local heroes and really, really sort of focusing on there for you as a message and making sure that we were there for all of our local retailers and trying to celebrate what they've been doing in their communities. And I'd just like to take a moment to talk about Raj and this activity that AF Blakemore are running. So I think for the majority of you know that we did lose Raj during the pandemic. And he's very much known as the man with the heart of gold. So there is a campaign that AF Blakemore are running called SPAR Do As Raj Would Do. where they're going to be donating and wanting people to join them in donating to local communities during this week in April. So please do support that campaign. One of the pieces we have focused in on during the pandemic is to make sure that we've continued to enhance our estate. We've gone into 300 stores, and whether that's been a refit or a new store, and really made sure that they're fit for purpose and they're bringing new and innovative activity to customers. We've launched new stores. This is welcoming some new independent retailers over in Ireland. And then we've brought in more activity in terms of more bakeries, more coffee. At the back here you can see a butcher's, and just trying to bring the localness really into the stores. SPAR stores have been recognised right the way through the pandemic, and we've gained 44 industry awards, whether that was for a convenience awards that you can see here in Pwllheli, or whether it was forecourt trader awards. So it is a great recognition for ourselves, but particularly the retailers who've put the work in at the shop front for this. And one of the other pieces we reinvented was trade shows. So as many of you will have attended, both CJ Lang in Scotland and Blakemore's ran virtual trade shows. And then we have our own SPAR UK trade show coming through in May. So it has really truly shown that actually when we want to and when there is a need, actually you can change and you can reinvent yourself. I think the most important piece is, though, out of all that learning, how do we retain what we've all gained? How do we retain the shoppers that now are weekly shopping? How do we retain that energy and activity to change? And how do we retain, I think particularly for me, the best practice learning and the common goal really that I think we have now got as a convenience industry. So I'm just going to take you through a few pieces that I think are the big pieces that we need to, as a convenience sector, retain. We need to keep this big basket and make sure that we have what customers need to be able to deliver against that. And I think there's three main pieces to that. One is making sure you've got the right range, making sure that you've got the range that can deliver a top-up mission, and make sure you've got the range that can deliver a main shop mission. Because by having that broader range, you'll be able to service more of that weekly shop for the customer. At the same time, really think about how do you create a dine-in solution? You've probably got most of those products in your store, but are they disparate around the store? Make it easy for your shoppers to be able to think, what do I want for dinner tonight? And then what's the solution to that? Create that solution in your store. And then think about what the missions are that people are going to be coming in for. And really think about actually, how do you make it your summer? Everybody's looking forward to the summer at the moment. It's something we know that we should come out of lockdown at the beginning of the summer. So how do you really think about those pulse moments through the summer that you can really use to actually create activity in your store? And then I mentioned this a bit earlier on, but I think value is going to be incredibly important to us all the way through this next year. And I think there's a piece around not only lowering prices, but actually really showing that you've lowered those prices. So for me, there's three things here. Make sure that you're investing on lowering the prices on the volume lines, the things that people will notice. Exploit the meal deals and eating at home opportunities. So make sure that actually, if you do invest in price, you invest where it's actually going to be what people are needing. And then, as I said at the beginning, clearly show the value you're offering. There's no point investing in price unless you tell customers about it. Think about your online proposition. As we know, this has grown tremendously through the whole of lockdown. Lots of different businesses have come on board. There's lots of different platforms and delivery mechanisms now. And people are thinking of it not just about getting my weekly shop. They're definitely top-up shopping on platforms. So think about how are you going to develop an online platform so that your shoppers can order from you. And particularly think about this rapid on-demand delivery. And we're seeing an awful lot of people now buying alcohol and crisps or a pizza, quite a small basket, but they're wanting it now. Think about how you can cater to that in-home eating occasion. if you have hot food in your stores, or if you have ready meals, just think about how can you position that online so people know that they can have a home meal from yourselves. Keep focused on sustainability. We've not stopped on sustainability all the way through the pandemic, because it is really important that we do as a nation and an industry focus in on this. Continue to think about plastic that you have in your stores. And we're still working with all of our suppliers to reduce the size of plastic bottles and remove black plastic. So make sure that you're thinking about that from a store point of view. Where you can, I think from a convenience point of view, it makes lots of sense to source locally where it's possible. It not only brings you a point of difference, but it does reduce the air miles. Start to think about electric vehicles. I think this will grow as a nation, but also particularly for forecourt operators and convenience stores, as to how do we need to address the electrical vehicles. And then focus on food waste. I think food waste is a great opportunity for us from a convenience point of view. It not only services the local community in terms of offering them cheaper alternatives to food, but also actually it makes sure that we're actually helping the planet. So with SPAR, we have partnered with Too Good To Go, but there are lots of other apps as well that you could bring in. And then make sure you're really thinking about your proposition. I think there is a piece that as we come out of pandemic and post-pandemic, I do think there is a piece that we all need to stand back and look at our stores and say, actually, have we and are they fit for purpose? And are they delivering what people are wanting in a new sort of, I suppose, reliving environment? And make sure that you're thinking about new trends. We know that coffee is a particularly big trend at the moment, but just think about what are the trends in your local area. Is that organics? Is that refill? Is that bakery? And make sure you're bringing those trends into your store. And then make sure you're future-proofing your convenience store. Think about what is going on in your area. How do you need to develop your store that will make it the best proposition, make it the most compelling place for people to want to come and shop? And then my final piece is, I think we've learned that we are a big part of the local community. I think we've always known that as SPAR, but actually that has grown right the way through this pandemic. So for me, it's how do you look after your local community? Because then I think your local community looks after you. Think about the offer, think about your proposition, and make sure that you're there for your customers.
Louise, thanks so much. That was an absolute blueprint for convenience retailing coming out of the pandemic. I mean, you covered so much ground and everything made perfect sense to me, and I'm sure it did to everyone else who was watching. Absolutely brilliant tour of all the issues and some really practical ideas for responding. So thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the panel discussion on that in just a moment. But before then, we wanted to get some really inspirational stories from two very inspirational independent retailers. We'll hear from Linda Carrington in just a moment from SPAR Lacey Lodge. But first, delighted to hear from Sophie Towers from One Stop Kibble Bank in Burnley, Debbie. So we're consistent, if nothing else. Burnley is getting massive overrepresentation today. And so really looking forward to seeing this from Sophie. So let's see what Sophie has to say.
Hi, I'm Sophie Towers and I own Kibblebank Community Store in Burnley, Lancashire. In 2020, Burnley was named as one of the most deprived towns in the country. My store is in the centre of a residential area, being a pub in a previous life. The area has mixed housing, social, private and rented. The area has a mixed population of young families through to retired older people. COVID changed the way customers thought about convenience stores, and my shop was strategically placed to benefit from this change of perspective. Panic buying and the inability of multiples to meet demand meant independents were able to shine. We proved we were able to adapt quickly to the changing situation, and our customers appreciated that. We spent hours queuing at different cash and carries, maintaining stock, ringing suppliers and setting up new delivery services. COVID brought devastation to many, but also great opportunities. As the world returns to a more normal way of life, we must concentrate on retaining the position we have built. There are many opportunities we can build on to help retain both new and existing customers. Signing up to and displaying the Healthy Start voucher scheme, will encourage new customers to the store, and ensuring your range can meet their needs will keep them coming and encourage them to buy other goods. Bigger product sizes and multi-pack deals will encourage customers away from the supermarkets, especially when the queues are long and the weather bad. Displaying these goods effectively makes sure the customer can see the deals. Your range and good availability of products make sure that people can be confident to come to your store. Important when they don't have transport or need to take taxis, they can spend the fare with you. COVID has made many people reluctant to take public transport, and this is especially a concern for older people or those with disabilities. A delivery service can bring new custom. During the first lockdown, there were real difficulties for people. We worked with community volunteers and the local council to deliver groceries across the area. Deliveries from independent is going to be a growth area, and taxi firms are often willing to work with you to make this possible. Social media is an important way to reach customers to update them about your range, services and new stock. Using an app for shopping from you will become a new source of custom. Coronavirus has made us more aware that people are living with hidden disabilities, and making sure your store and staff can support people to shop easily will make sure they return. Store layout, ease of access, suitable lighting, staff training are all things we can look at as independent retailers. We have worked with local carers to make sure our store can be as sensory friendly as possible, and if needed, where possible, we have put systems into place to support people with specific care needs. As a community store, many people who we rely on us, not just for goods, but for support if ill or worried about a family member, maybe just a friendly ear for their concerns. We also support local charities, football teams, food banks and other events, which also help to raise the profile of the store. Building a positive reputation in the community ensures everyone feels safe accessing the shop and has a good experience and grows your customer base.
Sophie, that was absolutely fantastic. And I mean, a couple of things we'll pick up on in the panel there. The approach on home delivery, really interesting, that work with local taxi companies. And just that focus on individuals and their individual needs and how you care for your customers and meet their needs, not just in terms of the products you sell, but in terms of the service you provide overall in store. So really looking forward to getting into that in just a moment. Before then, we're honoured to be hearing from Linda Carrington, who is store manager of AF Blakemoor's Lacey Lodge store. And before we go to her film, which I think will make it quite obvious why she received this, I really want to congratulate Linda on receiving her British Empire Medal, which was awarded for her service to the community and specifically the work she's done over this period of time. So richly deserved recognition. And hopefully this film will give us a bit of an idea of why that is so richly deserved. So let's hear from Linda and then come back to the panel.
Good morning, my name is Linda. I run SPAR Lodge. I'm just going to take you around the store just to show you some of the departments we have. We have a Greg's department. A Subway department. We also have an Insomnia coffee shop. Right, my name is Linda Carrington. I've worked for the company for 40 years. I actually received a BEM on the 31st of December last year. The store is actually a flagship store. We are situated at the bottom of the A18, which is very close to Grimsby, Cleethorpes, Skegness. So we get quite a lot of thorough traffic through our ways. We're actually on the outskirts of Grimsby. We have two main trunk roads, which we get a lot of passing trade. The store was actually purpose-built 6 years ago. Community, first thing to do with the community is we do adhere to the guidelines of the PPE. We make sure that the store is fully stocked. We're always available to help. We actually deliver to a lot of people that are actually shielding. There's quite a lot of elderly people in the village, so therefore we feel that we need to help them. We actually go to these customers' houses, we take them shopping. At some point we actually pay for it out of our own money, and they actually reimburse us through our banks. My team are actually on board with this with me as well. We have still been going out doing our litter picks, which is which actually makes us part of the community. Just recently we actually linked up with the church, and we actually got £200 from our Blakemore Foundation to help people what was in desperate need for food during this COVID. We actually, myself and my number 2, went out and we delivered 28 carrier bags full of shopping for people that was in need. We've had some fantastic response. We've had some brilliant letters, cards. We were even mentioned in the church service last week. I'm actually from Hull. I actually support Hull Good Deeds. My main reason for this is I used to go out and feed the homeless in Hull, but due to COVID, a lot of the homeless was taken off the streets. What I do with Hull Good Deeds, we try and raise funds to help people to get food for them. The good thing is we don't deliver. There's an administrator what comes and picks up the food, and she delivers it on her own. The community are quite on board with us at the moment. We've actually got a brilliant rapport with them now. Now I feel as though we have a good business, not just for the people what are travelling, but for the people what live in Laceby. We have a fantastic relationship with customers and also residents who live nearby. And that's just Laceby Lodge. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Lynn. That was absolutely brilliant. Thanks to all of you for both your presentations and also for everything you've done over the past year and for much longer than that in our sector. I'm just going to kick off by asking each of you first, and then we'll go to the Thunderdome and look at the word cloud and things. But I'll start with you, Louise, and then Sophie, then Linda. Just anything that stood out from any of the other presentations there, any things that you would particularly pick out. Louise?
I think for me, it's that connection into the community. I think the piece that it has really brought to the fore, I think we always knew convenience was part of the community. I think it's just really, really heightened that. And you can see both from the different presentations, almost how people looking at your area, actually how you can bring that to life and really, really understand it, what's right for your store, because all stores are different. So for me, it's that community and the localness that I think has really come through.
If we really think about what community really means as well, it can be a bit of a broad term, but making it really fit. Sophie, what stood out from what Louise and Linda were saying there?
Yeah, I really agree with what Louise says. I just think community is so important. And it just goes to show in the other presentation how important it is and how personalised you can be to your area, because every area has different customers, different needs, different people. And so what works for me won't work for others, but it's about like finding the personalisation for your shop that will work. And it's and it's the way the community are now starting to view us. I think we'd sort of lost that a little bit. People had moved towards the bigger supermarkets, and the pandemic has brought a really positive side back that we've all joined back together to support each other. Yeah,
community personalisation. Linda, are you okay with your earpiece there? What was something that struck you from what Louise and Sophie were saying?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
And is there anything that you picked out particularly from what Louise and Sophie were saying in their presentations?
I beg your pardon?
Is there anything that particularly stood out to you from what Louise and Sophie said and about their stories?
I think we all do an amazing job. I think we're all in the same boat, and I think we're there for the communities.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, and your local community and also the other work you've been doing in Hull has been absolutely amazing. Debbie, let's get the audience involved a bit. First, should we look at the word cloud and see what came up? We asked people what was the one thing they'd be focusing on retaining coming out of this, and it's good. Well, what do you think, Debbie? Some reflections on that.
Well, firstly, I've got to say 3 brilliant presentations, and you're all so kind to each other, but actually what you've shown is extraordinary kindness to the communities that you serve. And I just love the way you've been pragmatic and found simple solutions to address the issues around you. Just really fabulous. And I definitely promise I'm going to nip up to Kibblebank to have a look at your store, Sophie, when I'm over to see my mum. So really, really look forward to doing that. And yeah, the word cloud, I mean, I think it's quite, extraordinary, but everything that you've just said in the presentation, that community spirit has come out really loud and clear. But the empathy and understanding. So these are relatively soft words. And, perhaps, James, at a previous summit, the words that wouldn't have appeared. So it's amazing, but as well as that, you've got the enthusiasm and the commitment and the drive. And somehow the drive is there to give people more of what they want. And that just seems to be translating into really well-deserved results for all 3 of you. So it's great.
It's a much more personal sense, I think, to this year's summit. People think about themselves and their business rather than maybe looking at things in terms of product and margin, all of which are incredibly important, of course. But I think starting from the person and starting with the customer, starting with the people we're working with in stores, our colleagues. And I think you've got a question from Andy from the Thunderdome, Debbie.
Oh, I do, yes. So let's see how this one works out. We're going into the Thunderdome. I'm going to ask Andy Pheasant, who would like to ask the panel a question.
I think we got the question through from Andy, which was, can you give some examples? I'll maybe to say more to Louise, then Sophie, then Linda. Some examples of behaviours that suppliers should retain moving forward. It talks about what we need to retain as retailers. What are those sort of behaviours you'd like to see moving forward? Thanks for the question, Andy. Sorry, we didn't manage to get the sound to work. Louise?
I think for us, it would be openness. I think one of the pieces we learned really, really early on, sort of back in this time last year, was actually that sharing of information between both ourselves and the suppliers, because actually as soon as we started to share challenges, actually we could work on them. It was the sort of the lull in between almost of realising actually we needed to reshape what we were dealing with. So for me, that openness, honesty, and I think pragmatism actually, because we're in the convenience sector, people expected us to still need convenience sized products, and that wasn't true anymore. So I think really sharing opportunities, sharing growth. We've got a huge opportunity going forward with HFSS, that actually between us we can learn and we can get the right result out of it. So for me, I think pragmatism, openness, and sharing, because actually we both want the same end game.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, the high fat, salt, sugar regulations coming through, which will be very significant restrictions, but there will be different restrictions in terms of small stores and large stores and small businesses, big businesses. So we've had a good, not saying a dry run, but we've had a go at seeing how we can react to some of those changing circumstances. So an opportunity here. Sophie, from point of view of what have you seen from suppliers that you'd like them to retain moving forward?
I think for us, I'd like more personal contact from suppliers. We don't get many sort of reps making contact or people like introducing new products to us. I have to often hear from it about through retail press, Twitter, places like that. I know for other retailers, they quite often, maybe depending on the area you are, have contact, but where we are, and I have shops like locally in my area, I don't get much support in that way from the suppliers. And I think that's really important to see, just the point of sales, the displays that I see in other shops being passed around to everybody having that opportunity to have them. Yeah,
it's a really good point. So communication and contact, really important. And so you expect as we come out of this, more reps on the road, more people into stores is part of the success for suppliers?
Yeah, or maybe not even that they need to be on the road, just to make that contact over the phone, drop an email, Zoom, we're all like, there's so much more technology available now, just to drop that, or even a WhatsApp, this is a new product, we're launching it, do you need anything, can we support you in any way? Because obviously we're getting stuff through the wholesalers and that's fine, but to actually have that personal contact, I think makes me more, I want to try your products because you're telling me about it, you're selling it to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we're thinking about how we communicate with the sector. That's a big part of what we do and think about. And we've learned new things about digital communications and webinars and things like that. Because exactly the same applies to everyone, doesn't it? If we found new ways of communicating, we can harness them moving forward. Linda, I want to come to you a slightly different question, because all the things that you talked about community and the work you've done in Hull and in the community around the store as well. When we talk about the pandemic and community, how much is that just the sector doing what it's always done, or how much have we had to try and do different things over this past year or so? How different would this conversation be if we're having it in 2019 for you?
I think it would be totally different. I think more than anything, our customer base is a lot of elderly people. And I think it's keeping them safe and it's reassuring them all the time. Obviously, we're Blakemore Retail. I have no issues with supplies or anything because I order as I need my products. I think a lot of it is just being there for people. I think when we're going out delivering, and obviously I've done a lot in Hull at the moment, it's not about delivering the groceries. It's about standing with that person for 20 minutes, making them feel everything's okay. And I know it sounds silly, trying to be as normal as possible for them. And yeah, I think each and every one of us, we've had scary moments. We've all got families who probably had this pandemic. We don't know what's happening, but I think it's just reassuring people and it's reassuring your team. And it's keeping strong, and it's more than anything, we have to keep positive.
Yeah. Have you thought you've had more support from the community over the past year than you normally would? Is that always the case?
We've had a lot. We've got a lot of small villages from us, and now basically they wouldn't come out through shielding. We would go and deliver them. Now we've retained that. Our sales are absolutely fantastic. We're even in links with the church now. We went out 2 weeks ago delivering food parcels to like people who really needed it. We actually got a prayer said for us in the church service on Sunday as well. So I don't think it can get better than that.
Right, you got some big supporters.
Yeah, we have now. Yes. Great. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Linda. I want to come to you, Sophie, and then Louise. Ask you a question about technology. You know, because I think the way we've used technology has maybe slightly changed over the past year. What are we going to retain from that? Are we going to be using technology much more, or actually have we found out are we doing things in a way that's less reliant on technology? How big a part will technology play post-pandemic?
Within the store and for my staff, I think we will increase our use of technology. With us to customers, I think it's a mixture really. I found in my area, I've got people who just couldn't access the internet, so they couldn't access food because they don't have the internet or they don't know how to use it. There's plenty of families local to us that can't afford the internet. And I think for a lot of people, that's very shocking. And that made me have to set up a delivery service with the local volunteers using a phone. We had to, I think we take about 1,000 a week over the phone. And I think that shows that while technology is fantastic and it's an amazing in its place, and we do have like an online within store, that you have to remember that not to isolate the people that just can't use it.
Yeah, it's a really, really great question. I think we all assume that that everyone sort of interacts and works and maybe the way what we do. Here we are on an online conference is something we can do, but it's not the reality for many people in the country. Louise, what role do you see for technology moving forward?
I would completely concur with Sophie. I think it's a mix. I think technology will definitely grow. I don't think people will go back on home delivery, and we're definitely seeing it growing. And we're learning from the different 5 wholesalers as to what's the right model for SPAR. But I do think there is a raft of the population that either isn't au fait with the internet or doesn't have it. And therefore we need to make sure that from a convenience store, we are flexible, that we're able to flex that piece of, well, and particularly independent convenience, that we're able to flex that ability to do what's right for the local area. So similar to Sophie, we had stores that had a phone line set up that were taking orders down the phone and then delivering, as well as having an app, as well as having a website. So they were using all the different elements to make sure that they could capture the customers that they needed to do. And I think from an independent and from a sort of a local point of view, I think that probably will retain. But I think there's definitely a piece that we can learn from home shopping and what works, what doesn't work, and then what's the right model for independence. Because it is different to multiples, and I think we need to make sure we do not try and copy the multiple model.
Really interesting. I want to actually ask a question about that, because I think it's such this. So the question I asked a lot is about delivery. What is the future of delivery based on what we've learned? So yeah, the question from me, I'll start with you, Louise, and then Linda, then Sophie. What's the maximum you can see in the next few years in terms of proportion of sales that are through online delivery? What do you see as the ceiling for that? I know it's a totally impossible question, but just as an idea, I mean, is it 2%? Is it 10? Is it 40?
I think it'll be probably around 10%. I mean, we're now at 18% of our stores have an ability to do their home delivery, and that's growing every day. So we're constantly bringing new stores on. But I think it will grow. I think the other piece is actually what will be the mix of the food. So how much of food service will start to go into that delivery system, and what will be the crossover between almost Deliveroo have gone now from food service into grocery, but actually will grocery go the opposite way and go into food service, particularly from an independent point of view where we've got food service in the stores. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how that all merges together. Because Deliveroo are definitely coming into that grocery home delivery space. I also think this piece of I need it now is a really different piece to the multiples, and the amount of people who are just ordering because they can get it in half an hour from an independent, I think is really important for us. Yeah,
interesting. Linda, how many deliveries do you reckon you could be making if you know, what's the maximum you could see yourselves making to your customers?
We don't actually, we do it ourselves. We don't actually have a delivery service. Staff will go out the way and do it. We do have some stores which are near us, which are our hub stores. So if people want like a large shop, obviously, then we will sort of like liaise with the nearest store to deliver for them. So, but we do we do it in our own time. We go on our days off and we deliver, you know, just free. We just do a free delivery. And it's all about customer feedback, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. Sophie, what would you reckon you could max out at in terms of proportion of sales through delivery if you pushed it?
I think probably about 10-15%, maybe more. With it all depends really. I think from food, like word of mouth from customers is that a lot of them wanting click and collect, so they just want they want to just get it, click it, and order it, because we have a large car park, so we can have click and collect spaces, and that's working really well for us. But yeah, there is a definite big growth, and I'm not sure how far we can take it really. I think these next few years will be really interesting in many ways.
They really will be fascinating. Debbie, have you got any questions in from the audience or anything from the Thunderdome?
Yeah, so there's a few coming in. There's actually quite a few on a theme, which I think you've all answered really, really well, and that you've actually got to adapt to your location. And I think that's brilliant. And it's always been a strength of independent retailers. I think also what's emerging is the need state are different, you know, so sometimes you want it now. And actually those premium hour delivery services have got their place. But what I love about the conversation that's taking place here is the vulnerable people who don't have the luxury to pay such a massive premium that some of those services actually command. So I can see it really panning out with several channels to market, some of which will grow faster than others. But I think the call's absolutely right from this panel that you've really got to bespoke it to your catchment. So I'm going to ask a question that's on a slightly different vein. It's coming from Chris West. And it's actually about the delivery of non-ambient groceries. So this, I suppose, is looking both at delivering of fresh food, but also what's happening with the delivery partners, the likes of Amazon, Collect Plus, and all of that. How are you coping with those in your environment? So I'd actually, I'm probably going to ask that to Sophie first, because I think when it's your own business, you know, what are you doing to adapt? And then perhaps ask Linda and Louise how that plays out in a more managed estate. So Sophie, how does it work for you?
I have a post office. So we get a lot of stuff dropped in by Royal Mail, really. Everything comes in through there. So we do a lot of Amazon. But it's just grown rapidly, but luckily we have the space for that. So yeah, it works fine, really. It's just part of every day for the staff to deal with. They're used to it. It's part of what they do.
Thank you. Linda?
Mine's a little bit different because I run a forecourt. So obviously, and I have like my food services. So obviously we don't have any deliveries. I have no post office and we have no Amazon deliveries. So that's a bit of a difficult question for me.
Brilliant. So Louise, on a broader SPAR perspective then, how are you?
Yeah, so on a broader SPAR's perspective, I suppose we have a mix. So some stores have got post offices, some have got Amazon. So it's just a real mix in terms of what the store, the independent, and then the managed wholesale business has got in the store. I don't think we've seen a massive difference in them, particularly through the pandemic. I think it has just been consistent. The piece that we have seen more of a difference is the delivery out rather than the delivery in. I think one of your questions was around fresh right at the beginning.
And frozen, actually.
And frozen. Yeah, so actually, for our delivery piece, it has been in the main multi-temp, because actually that's what people have needed during the pandemic. They've been doing a weekly shop, and that almost particularly because of the need if they were shielding or vulnerable, actually we've had to manage that through.
Brilliant. And James, there's just one final from Katia Heard. I'm going to put that to Linda because it was a rubbish question that I've just put to you last time. So, one that's probably a bit more relevant, but it's which categories are being shot the most in that delivery service? So when people are wanting you to deliver the food to them, what is it that they're asking you to deliver most of?
It's more fresh. It's fruit and vegetables. It's a lot of chilled products. And it's like basic necessities, day-to-day lines, like, you know, bread, milk, sugar, anything they need, really. Even if they wanted Subway, I'd have that prepared and deliver that as well for them. So anything that they require, we would oblige.
Brilliant. Yeah. No wonder you were recognised for your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So then we've got a question to the Thunderdome before we finish this session. So if the Thunderdome, they're all there, brilliant, fantastic. So you remember it's Paul McCartney or the crossed hands. So has the pandemic changed the sector for good? You know, are we going, or actually, is it not as much of a change? Has it changed the sector for good? So yes or no? Interesting. So again, I think there's real unanimity. Everyone's saying, yes, I think we should challenge ourselves a bit on that. I think a lot of the things we talked about actually are things we have talked about before, but like so many other things, the pandemic has accelerated, amplified the changes that we'd seen before. But yeah, I think the sector will be different to how it's been before. Louise, Linda, and Sophie, thanks so much for your presentations and answering questions so fully. It's been great to hear your stories from the front line of retailing during this time and what you're retaining moving forward. And I'd like to just finish this session by asking a question back to the audience, so a poll to the audience. And it's, what should the sector retain following the pandemic? And we've got some options here, a lot of which we've touched on a lot today. What should we be most focused on retaining? Community links, home delivery, basket spend, or new suppliers? Those are 4 options there. Community links, home delivery, basket spend, new suppliers. We'll look at those results when we come back after the break. If we could get back from the break at about 20 to 12, please. And we'll kick off the final session, which is a brilliant session with Natalie and Michael about reimagining the convenience store sector. So thanks very much again to Louise, Linda and Sophie. Absolutely brilliant session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to C-Talk, the digital media platform created by retailers for retailers.
We've got loads of retailer interviews. We've got interviews with key suppliers. We've got show rounds of new stores, NPD, news and stories. And sometimes some of the stuff we do is just for fun.
So join the C-Talk family on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and have some fun on TikTok. Come and see us on the stand and share your success with fellow retailers and brands. Hope you enjoy the summit.
The new Scan, Pay, Go shopping app for SPAR and Eurospar is faster, more hygienic and easy. Never wait in line again. For a quick shop, just scan the barcodes. For that bigger shop, create your list. Tap to add offers and the app will guide you straight to your items. See your offers, savings and allergens all in real time. Bag your items as you shop. Scan the QR code to pay and go. Download the SPAR Scan Pay Go app from the App Store or Google Play today and join the retail revolution. New Scan, Pay, Go shopping app for Central England Co-op is faster, more hygienic and easy. Never wait in line again. For a quick shop, just scan the barcodes. For that bigger shop, create your list. Tap to add offers and the app will guide you straight to your items. See your offers, savings and allergens all in real time. Bag your items as you shop. Scan the QR code to pay and go. Download the Central England Co-op Scan, Pay, Go app from the App Store or Google Play today and join the retail revolution.
Hello there, I'm Tom Downs, founder and CEO of Quail Digital. We manufacture high-quality wireless headset systems to improve staff communication in stores like yours. Headsets can become the store communication system, replacing phones and pagers and bells. As we know, abuse by customers on your staff is a growing problem. Headsets play a part in de-escalating these events. In the first place, when staff are wearing headsets, it sends a strong message to the casual wrongdoer. Teresa Holland, manager of today's local Howden, said, "They make us feel very safe. If a potential shoplifter is spotted, we can alert the team without them knowing that they have been spotted." Above all, your headset system is there to help your team work more efficiently and safely together. Headsets help your staff create a calmer, more positive environment for your customers to shop in, and so helping your business to thrive. Thank you for watching.
Today, 1/3 of all food produced in the world goes to waste, even before it gets to the table. By 2050, we need to produce 60% more food to feed our growing population, which means we need to grow, harvest, and process more efficiently and prevent food loss. And engineering is making that happen. By increasing harvest by up to 50% through technologies that enable precision farming, so farmers can produce more food using less resources. Through embedded IoT solutions in food processing facilities that optimize efficiency, reduce downtime, and ensure food safety. With cloud-based end-to-end connectivity that enables remote temperature control for cold storage, even during transportation. Digitalization and climate-friendly refrigerants allow supermarkets to further minimize energy use while keeping our food fresh and the environment safer. These solutions can optimize production and keep food safe from farm to fork so that we can sustainably feed the world of tomorrow. This is where the transformation of our food supply starts. Join the transformation, and together we are engineering tomorrow.